What is going on, Weekend Hangover crew? This is your boy Preach bringing you another episode. Today's episode, we're going to talk about the coaches carousel, coaches on the hot seat, and a couple of replacements for those coaches and a replacement for Jay Gruden. Now, the first coach up on the hot seat is Dan Quinn. The reason why I have Dan Quinn on there is because he is a defensive-minded guy, and that defense just looks awful to me. I think it's the reason what's holding that offense back, what's holding that team back in general. That offense is quote-unquote a high-powered offense. You have a lot of weapons there, a pretty decent offensive line, and the defense is holding them back. Now I get they do have a ton of injuries. They've had a ton of injuries the last couple of years. But eventually that can't be your complaint anymore. You have to get past it. And I really, outside of a couple of pieces maybe, I really don't see anything on that defense that impresses me at all. And that's why I got Quinn on the hot seat. Next up is Anthony Lynn. Now, with the Anthony Lynn one, that San Diego Chargers team is way... They have a lot of potential on that team. They are too good to not be winning. I mean, you have a quarterback in Phillip Rivers. You have two running backs, Eckler and Gordon. Now, you do need a couple of pieces on the offensive line, but we'll get into that in a later story. You have two great corners, a dynamic safety, and two great pass rushers. You got to win a little more than what you're doing right now. That team is too good not to be winning, and that's why I have Anthony Lynn on the hot seat. Next up is the Mike Zimmer. Now, Mike Zimmer is a little confusing just because he has a really good win-loss record. He has 50 wins, 34 losses. But the reason why I have Zimmer on the hot seat personally is because he went from an NFC Championship game with Case Keenum, decided to let Case Keenum go just to sign Kirk Cousins, gave him a ridiculous deal. I know that all isn't him, but you bring him in, and now it's just that locker room. You hear a lot of complaints from that locker room. Kirk Cousins, Adam Thielen got into it a couple of times on the sideline and in the locker room. And now you hear that Diggs wants to be traded because of Kirk Cousins. He just can't get along with him. So we'll kind of see where that whole thing goes. I think it's going to kind of blow up a little bit just because I saw Kirk Cousins do that in the Washington Redskins locker room also. So that's kind of why I see Zimmer on the hot seat. I just think that whole thing's going to blow up. Now this next one, I know a lot of people are going to disagree with this next one just because he is a first-year head coach. But let me explain why I think it is going to be Freddie Kitchens on the hot seat next. Is because they have a ridiculous locker room. John Dorsey has built a Super Bowl team on paper. A lot of people had them as their Super Bowl team coming into the season. And Dorsey has quoted multiple times, the Cleveland Browns need to be on the rise. They need to constantly winning. If they see decrease, then they need a replacement. That's the whole issue behind them firing Hugh Jackson. I mean, also because they were, 0-16 one season and 1-15 the next. But he doesn't like decline in the team. And to me personally, that's what I see in this team. They're not putting up touchdowns. Baker Mayfield is a turnover machine. And I don't think it's going to get any better for them, as their next couple of games is against the Seahawks, the Pats, Broncos, and the Bills. I mean, they may lose 3 out of those 4 games. It just doesn't look good for them, and that's why I have Freddie Kitchens on the hot seat. Next up is Adam Gase, the head coach of the Jets. Me personally, I have no idea why Adam Gase keeps getting a head coaching job. It just boggles my mind. He is supposed to be this offensive guru, this, I guess, God-given talent that everybody keeps calling him, all this crazy stuff. But he destroyed that Miami Dolphins team. They had Tannehill, which we saw Tannehill has a little bit of skill when we, in the preseason. Yes, it was just a preseason. But people were calling for him to replace Mariota over there. And you couldn't do anything with him. He said he was a useless talent, all this kind of crazy stuff, wanted to replace him. He goes to the Jets. The Jets spend all of this kind of money in the offseason getting Mosley, Le'Veon Bell. I understand that Darnold is hurt. He will be coming back soon, and this is what's the problem with Gase's offense. And I really think it's Gase. I think he tries to make things a little too difficult than what they should be. He makes things a little too cute than what they should be. I don't think he's that great of a head coach. Maybe he'll prove me wrong and start winning some games, but I highly doubt it. They're not even putting up yards over there, so we'll have to see. Another one that people would disagree with me with, but I keep hearing a lot of dysfunction over there, and I know it's Vic Fangio. And the reason why I have Vic Fangio on there is just because John Elway does not like to lose. He's a very impatient person. He wants to win, 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 win. And I understand they're just coming off their first win. The season doesn't look too good for them. And that's why I have Vic Fangio on there. Now, candidates. Now, the 5 candidates I'm going to say right here are 5 candidates from CBS Sports that they have on here to replace Jay Gruden. One of them is Mike Tomlin, Bill Callahan, Eric Bieniemy, Jason Garrett, and Mike Zimmer. This list kind of confuses me, and I think they just kind of just threw this out there just to have something, is because 3 out of the 5 coaches on here are already head coaches in the league. I did have Mike Zimmer on the hot seat, but I don't see him coming in just because I think the Redskins need an offensive coordinator, an offensive guru to come in, basically a quarterback guru to come in. Just because of the Dwayne Haskins situation, I think that's what we're going to go with, and that's why I think Mike Zimmer's not going to be the one. The other one is Jason Garrett, that I thought was kind of dumb to me because Jason Garrett is putting a winning season together. They just came off the 2 losses. I get that, but they were 3-0 before that. That team was looking high-powered. They were destroying people outside of these last 2 games. But I don't know why Jason Garrett keeps coming up. He keeps producing wins. I don't know why that name keeps coming up on people's minds. The Eric Bieniemy one, I get that one. I really do. He's the offensive coordinator for the Chiefs. It's because they say he's a quarterback guru. He's an offensive guy. He is actually learning under Reid right now. Andy Reid, and I think that's probably one of really best potentials that I've seen from them. The Bill Callahan one, I kind of got to disagree with also just because how many intern head coaches really stick being the head coach the following year? That's the only reason why I got to disagree with that one. And then Mike Tomlin. I don't know why that name keeps coming up every single time I look at everybody's list. It's really weird to me. Now, don't get me wrong. Pittsburgh fans, if you want to get rid of Mike Tomlin, I'll be glad to take him. I think Mike Tomlin is a terrific head coach. He took a dysfunctional locker room, like I said, and he made it into a better locker room. I will absolutely take Mike Tomlin. I don't see Mike Tomlin working just because I don't think he'll fit with Daniel Snyder and all that kind of stuff. Now, the one candidate that I'm going to throw out here that just because I know my Redskins organization, I know what Daniel Snyder is looking for and all this kind of crazy stuff, and I know this is going to end up being our guy, is Kellen Moore, the offensive coordinator for the Cowboys. Because now he is this hot commodity guy right now because of this offense. And Daniel Snyder wants to be the Jerry Jones 2.0. If for some odd reason he absolutely loves Jerry Jones and wants to be Jerry Jones-esque. And I just think that's the perfect fit. I personally don't like it, but I can see it happening. Me personally, I think we need to bring in a head coach that basically will run this organization like clockwork, like Mike Tomlin. I think he needs to basically have full control of this organization. Now, I don't think he has to be, the almighty and everything, because I think an organization works best when they work together, and that's not what I see from our organization. So I would like to see that happen, but like I said, I think it's going to be Kellen Moore. And if you like this episode, please throw us a thumbs up. And if you want to be a part of the Weekend Hangover crew, subscribe to us. And until the next video, peace.